Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to crack open the powerful built-in toolkit that every Windows power user, IT pro, and, well, any real enthusiast should know like the back of their hand. These are the tools that really separate the pros from the amateurs, so let's just jump right in. Look, whether you're managing a whole corporate network or just trying to keep your own gaming rig running smoothly, using the right Windows tool, well, it's kind of like knowing whether you need a scalpel or a sledgehammer. And today, we're going to fill your toolbox with the perfect instruments for some of the most common and annoying Windows headaches. All right, first up, let's talk about something that can make anybody's heart skip a beat. A system that just keeps crashing. We've all been there, right? You get that pit in your stomach. So this is a classic scenario. It almost always points to a problem deep down in the system's core. Some new piece of software has probably gone in and made a change it wasn't supposed to, and you know who the prime suspect is? The Windows Registry. You gotta think of the registry as the central nervous system of Windows. It's the brain, it's the spinal cord, it's everything. And the tool we use to interact with it is the registry editor, or regedit. But, and this is a huge but, a word of caution, this tool is incredibly powerful. One wrong move in here, and you can destabilize your entire system. This is where the pros really have to tread carefully. And that brings us to the single most important rule of editing the registry. Seriously, this isn't a suggestion, it's the law. Before you touch a single thing, you have to create a backup. This step is absolutely 100% non-negotiable. It's your safety net. Don't work without it. See, by following this exact procedure, you back it up, you find the specific key you need, you modify only that one incorrect value, and, if you can, you compare it against a known good configuration. You turn what could be a risky guess into a precise, surgical, professional fix. That is the difference between just fumbling around in the dark and working with real confidence. But okay, what if it's not a setting? What if the actual core system files themselves are damaged? For that, your go-to is the system file checker. Think of it as a self-healing button for Windows. You just run sfc/scannow from an admin command prompt, and it will scan all those protected system files and replace any bad ones. It basically repairs the very foundation of your OS. It is an amazing first step for any kind of mysterious system behavior. So now that we've looked at the software core, let's move up a layer to the hardware everything runs on. Yeah, we're talking about managing your disks and your devices. The dreaded blue screen of death, especially if you get it on startup. It's very often caused by a bad hardware driver. Your first stop, always, should be the device manager. You can go in there, find the problem device, update the driver, roll it back to an older version, or, you know what, just disable it to get your system stable again. Okay, so you've just installed a brand new drive. You're all excited to start using it, but you can't save anything to it. Windows sees it, sure, but it's just this raw, unallocated space. It's like having a new plot of land, but with no roads or addresses. Before it's useful, you have to prep it using the disk management console. It's really just a simple three-step process. First, you initialize the disk, and you get to choose between MBR, that's the older standard, or the more modern, flexible GPT style. Then you create a new partition, which is like a logical volume. And finally, you format that partition with a file system, like NTFS. That's what paves the roads and assigns the addresses so Windows can actually read and write data to it. Now, this brings us to a super important point about maintenance. Not all drives are the same. For those older, spinning hard drives, you defragment them. It physically puts all the pieces of your files together, kind of like organizing a really messy library. But for a modern solid-state drive, or SSD, doing that is totally unnecessary and can actually shorten its life. Instead, the system does something called a trim operation, which is more like an efficient cleanup crew that keeps the drive fast and healthy. Okay, so managing hardware is one thing, but managing the people who use that hardware, that's a whole different challenge. Let's talk about users and policies. So a new employee starts, and it's so tempting to just share a password, right? But that is a huge security risk. It's basically like giving everyone the master key to the whole building. The right way to do it is to use the local users and groups console to create a unique account for them. And then, this is key, you assign that account to a security group that has only the permissions they need for their job. It's called the principle of least privilege, and it's a cornerstone of good security. But how do you enforce rules like making sure everybody uses a strong password across a whole organization? You don't do it one person at a time, no way. For that, you use the Group Policy Editor. This is the essential tool for setting up and enforcing those security policies everywhere, all from one central place. It's incredibly efficient. All right, we've secured our system, we've secured our users. Now let's tackle the final piece of this admin puzzle, getting your system connected to the world securely and reliably. This is a troubleshooting scenario every IT pro knows and, let's be honest, kind of loves. You can reach a server using its numbers, its IP address, but not its friendly name. This classic problem almost always points to one single culprit: DNS. So, here's the deal. DNS is basically the internet's phone book. It translates names into numbers. So if you can call the number, but the name doesn't work, it means your computer's phone book, its DNS settings, is probably messed up, or it just can't reach the main phone book server. That is the very first place you should go look. And hey, whenever you connect to a network, especially Wi-Fi, Windows asks you to pick a profile. If you choose private, you're telling Windows you trust this network, and it makes your PC visible for stuff like file sharing. But if you choose public, it locks your computer down tight. You become invisible, and it blocks connections, which is perfect for that coffee shop or hotel network. Making the right choice here is one of the easiest and most effective ways to protect yourself out in the wild. You know, we've covered a ton of ground here, from the deep down system registry all the way out to network configuration. And it really all comes back to one core idea. Whether you're using a graphical tool inside the Microsoft Management Console, like the Device Manager, or you're using a powerful command line utility, each one has a specific purpose where it just shines. Knowing which one to reach for, that's the whole game. I mean, take Robocopy, for example. Sure, you could just drag and drop a folder, but that's a pretty blunt instrument. It often won't preserve all those complex security permissions. The Robocopy command, though, that gives you surgical precision and power. It can even resume a huge file transfer if it gets interrupted. That's a level of control and reliability you just can't get from the graphical interface. And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. True mastery of Windows isn't about choosing one over the other. It's about knowing when to use that intuitive graphical interface for speed and convenience, and when you need to harness the raw, surgical power of the command line for real control and automation. Knowing both worlds, that's what makes you a truly effective administrator. So my question to you is, what's one command line tool you're going to commit to learning this week?